What to do with Guam was happening. My name is Ogechi. People do also call me OG. I am independent emerging artist, everything from hip hop, pop rap, R&B pop, and Afro. And rapper, singer, dancer. And
Diversified game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I promise you, you probably never heard an artist like Ogechi, aka OG. It's a different style, and she reminds me of a few things that she don't even know exist. But I've been an OG, a double, triple OG in this game, so 20 plus years in it. OG, I love the music. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, sir. How's the spirit?
Blessed by the best. And when I say the music, I mean the whole style. That's what got me to bother you at the AfroCon because you guys, she has, and you'll see it somewhere on here where there's a thumbnail or right here. One leg out always. And it's like, okay. When I saw her on the second day, I said, man, she has to be an artist. But I had to know, like, what do you do? And you're not a thirsty artist, but you're out there, so let people know, how long have you been doing music? Where are we at with the music? What is your purpose in doing music and entertainment?
Okay, so I've been doing music for about 8 years. I put out my first single while I was a freshman in college. I came from actually the spoken word competitive poetry scene. So I've been a writer though my entire life, like from childhood on, which is why it was pretty easy to fall into rap music. Currently, I have a EP dropping that is direct to consumer only, called The Divine Hip Hopper. There are a few songs that are out on streaming networks. The last song I'm giving to the worldwide, just publicly, is Head Bobbing on November 14th. But otherwise, to get the full extent of the project, you have to buy it off my website only, and that's where it only exists. And then next up, I'm actually going to Nigeria, Lagos very soon. And I have a couple cats out there that I'll be working with. And I'm very, very excited to finally do African music, which is something that, as a first generation Igbo Nigerian, is some a music that I've been raised into, wired into, is in my blood and bones, but I just never got the opportunity to work with people who are on ground in Niger. And so I probably got the opportunity this past time I was in Lagos in April, and we've been, just conversing over WhatsApp and making things pop in. And I would say my purpose, if that was your last question, in the sense of doing music, is to inspire people. Like, I think and I know this sounds somewhat of like a basic term, but from the years I have been doing music and the years I've been performing and just existing as Ogechi, that's one of the main things that people say is that watching you be you inspires me to do something, to watching you do what you do, no matter what is going on in life, and inspires me to maybe take a step in a direction that I was fearsome of going into, or maybe dress a certain way that I thought people would judge me for. So that's one of my passions behind music. I've always been very much so eclectic, but also loner. And so music was a refuge and a home for me to, like, both music and reading books. Like, that's all I did. And so it is a safe space for me to feel a sense of freedom that sometimes the outside world cannot give me. And so creating it also is therapeutic in a way, to just not have so many things going on up here and putting it out into the physical world, and then realizing that there are people who also need these words or these messages or just this general energy or frequency from the vessel that God has blessed me to have. And so I do it for myself, but I also do it for the people who need to hear what I have to say. Um, and yeah, let's say try not to go on too long.
Okay, no worries. Now, let the audience know they can see your beautiful website, which links will be in the description. And you guys, I've showed her how to do an AI website. If not, I'm gonna send it again because I.
You've tried it your way and you're still in debt? Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter and grow faster? MillionaireX.ai gives you step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming, start planning. Visit millionairex.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
Think everybody should have AI doing their site for various reasons. But you're born in KC, Mo, my old stomping grounds,
Yeah.
back way in the gap. But you also are doing a different blend of Nigerian, you say Afro beats, rap. There's all type of battles, whether you ask Stanley Ano, whether you ask any of the artists who've been doing it for Wisdom, any of the artists, they're like this music right now with this blend from the West is getting more raunchier, it's getting more raw, and women are saying things, even old mas and old pas are saying things that they never would have said back in the day. Talk about how coming into your own, and I know you got some pushback probably from the closest people to you, like, what did you say?
What did I say? You know, it's so funny. Someone had just inquired about that yesterday, and I've always been the rebellious one. Like, mind you, I was a very smart kid, and that wasn't necessarily a good thing either. So always, you know, honor roll student, but also I just never messed with authority. Can we cuss on this platform?
You can say whatever you need to say. You're a safe space.
Just making sure before. But yeah, no, I've never fucked with authority. I've always questioned teachers and like, why are we standing in the line? Why are we doing it this way? Why can't I do this? Well, this isn't like a bad thing. And a lot of times they couldn't give me answers. And so I was like, okay, if you're not giving me answers, I'm gonna do what I want. Like, and so when it came to life, you know, being raised Igbo Nigerian and Igbo Nigerian also community, um, definitely there is the push to be a doctor, lawyer, all those things. And I'm one of 6 kids whose older sister is doctor, lawyer, a younger sister, physical therapist. But it just, and while my parents knew I was smart enough to be that, I never wanted to live my life doing something that someone told me to do and not what I chose to do. And as a kid who also suffered through a lot of mental health issues, it was like, if y'all really have me do something that I don't want to do, sorry to be extremely morbid, but I'll kill myself. Because why would I live a life like because I would just imagine like I'm living decades on decades of something I don't care about, and I'm already a sad kid. And so definitely it was a fight, it was a pushback. As I said, I started off in actually spoken word poetry and actually as a radio host for KPRS Hot 103.3 Jams. And so being on the radio was like something that because it was a citywide thing and people would hear my voice on the radio, that was a cool look, you know? And then I got accolades when it came to spoken word. So I became, you know, I went to international competitions, one got, you know, in the top 3 in world of youth poetry, became Atlanta's Youth Poet Laureate, wrote 2 books. And so it was after those accolades came and, you know, that, you know, different family members were like, oh, you know, she's actually doing well. That my parents were like, oh, you know, maybe this is actually a good thing. I would say my little sister, she was one of the people who are in my corner the entire time, like with me in my first studio session. So she was definitely an advocate for me. But yeah, I just refuse in any time. And I did sit down through some interventions like, okay, you want to do this art thing, but how about you do nursing for 4 years and then go do your art thing? And I was just like, girl, no, I can't do it. And so, you know, eventually they let me be. And it took probably until somewhere in my early to mid 20s that my parents actually started like really supporting me versus just like, you know, she's doing her art thing, but we hope that she does something else.
What about the language and the theme? Because bubble yum and you know so many other things. That I mean, did your mother say? Did she, you know, just blow her mind? Say, what did you say? Or did she say, I've always wanted to say those things? You know, because
I actually guarantee you, my mother has never heard my music, anything. My parents are traditional Nigerians. Like they listen to Nigerian music and then whatever might be on the radio, but they're not like I had to learn about American culture through being outside, not in my household. So it's like I know that I've had like aunties and uncles, cousins, like they have listened to my music and no one really has an issue because while I may say things that are adult natured, I don't think I'm a super raunchy artist, like in general. So and at least I know how to decorate things in a poetic way. So even if what I'm saying truly is, you're going to have some sort of intellect or like really read the lyrics to know what I'm saying.
well, you know, black folk globally. If the auntie heard it, she told her sister, or her cousin heard it. He told the big mouth. Sometimes I might be the Congo saw box that people, you know, they hear things, but she's never told you that she's heard your music. you tapped into the mental health part, and I used to work with mental health. Actually, I might go back to school because I want to do it full time. Outside of all of this, but what I've dealt with that with clients who make $100,000 or more, ready to jump off ledges. People think, hey, once I get famous, I'll be okay. Can you talk about the mental health and how it blended into the poetry, but where it stemmed from? Because there's a 14-year-old right now going into a facility and people say, oh, this person is brilliant, but they're mad. And it's like, did you ask what happened to them? Did you ask what's pissing them off? And a lot of times people say, nobody's ever asked me. Nobody's ever asked me. They told me a lot of things, but they haven't asked me. So where did that stem from? At what age? And how did it blend into the poetry?
I would say that I probably, well, as soon as I say garnered consciousness, if that makes sense. Like, there's an age where you're just kind of a la 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 kid, and then there's the age that clicks and you start noticing what is actually going on in the world around you. And so that happened for me around the ages of 9 and 10. And I recognized that, and I went to a predominantly white school. And so recognizing that I am a tall, fat, Black girl in this class of white people, and recognizing when and how the teacher treats me differently, recognizing that I will never be considered attractive or, because of my weight, not really even feeling feminine. And so all the things that are typically associated to how little girls are supposed to be, I recognize that I'm not this. And I started very much so shying away from masculinity. And in contrast, I did have sisters who were very girly. And so I also started playing sports at that time. And so it was very much so a lot of self-hate, low self-esteem. And because of the age dynamics of me and my siblings, I was somewhat alone. So like my older siblings, they're very year apart. My younger siblings, they're a year apart, but there's a 3 and a 4 year age gap between my next oldest and the youngest. So I was also just alone by default a lot of times. And that leaves me with my own thoughts. That's where it started. And then year by year, it progressively gets worse. Like, I will say I was grateful that I did have 1 to 2 friends there. Because of how big I wasn't like bullied face to face because I'm the biggest person in the class. So, but I would hear people talking about me, or people would tell me about certain things. This is where social media, I remember, I'm still young, but I remember when Instagram became a thing, and we had our little forms of social media. And so it was a very weird dynamic because in the Nigerian culture, we're raised to be great wives. We're raised to look good and be smart and all those things. And so after the smart thing, it was kind of like, that's all I kind of have to offer, in heavily comparing myself to those around me. And so that's when that age group is where I started journaling a lot. And so it was a lot of dark things, but that's where the writing started for me. And it was years later in my teens that I found out that people could even be poets and do spoken word. So yeah, that's that transition.
I wanted to say, stop the cat when you were talking about, fat, big, like when you see her, y'all, and please go to her website and her IG. You can't imagine. So that must have just been baby fat, and you can transform.
I would say by the age of, I definitely had a yo-yo because I also dealt with eating disorders. And so my weight would yo-yo, but I would say my highest weight, I was around 230 by the time I was 22 years old.
Hello everyone, join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney go take you explore Cameroon, the heart of Africa. Experience the vibrant culture, nature and traditions, from Yaoundé market to rainforest adventures. Every page na new discovery. Enjoy the Cameroonian food, music and wildlife with our explorers. This book na true celebration of Cameroon spirit. Get your copy now. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and through your library and bookstores here in Grams Park. Don't miss this adventure.
Wow. You would have never, if you would have put you and had others and say, guess who was, obese as a kid.
Yeah.
But, there's,
Man, I was already well over 100 pounds.
which, if I have a brother who's 6'6", 400 pounds. He's my little big brother. And it can, yeah, it can help and he's been bigger than that. But he goes kick you right in your face. Because we grew up fighting, martial arts and things. But I say that a lot of people have traumas as kids, things spark, whatever that is. Please, for y'all who are dealing with that, and it's probably the majority. It's not probably the minority. Go get some help. See a therapist. Talk to somebody. But with your family, I know the African family. Everybody, like you said, lawyer, doctor, engineer. Toby in a big way talks about his mama swore he was a joke, and now he has 1 million. Do you dream of that moment where everybody switches and they're like, yes, we're supporting you in your family?
That's what I said, that like it took until around my early to mid 20s to when my parents started supporting me. So I'll say like now I do have their full support, and they do believe, like, everybody in my family, intermediate and even like extended families, they see me as the superstar of the family or the mogul of the family, even though I don't have that like money yet. But I do now after years and years of being in it, and I feel like I have shown proof of progress and also proof of talent and skill, and almost, and then even for some people recognizing that God made Ogechi to do this certain thing. The reason she went through the things that she did as a person is why she's the artist that she is. And so it's just a matter of the financial capital and being in the right rooms at the right places to continue to go up until I am in a place where I'm full-time artist.
Can you tell the people, because there's somebody who will watch you, they'll look at you like, wow, she has her own style. She's able to volunteer, which there's some privilege when you can volunteer your time and not have to work and get paid, Have you found the way of making a living where you are able to, get booked? Because that's where the real money is, you guys. If you guys are worried about streams all day, you need to get booked at some shows, some merch. Ask Tech9, ask others. But have you found a way to make this your full-time gig where you don't have to do anything else?
No, we definitely do a lot of things else, my good sir. I am blessed that since about last year, I have been in that, I feel like, interim period of I do get paid gigs, like whether it be, anywhere from 50, 250, 500, 600 for a show. And so I've been blessed to like see that more consistently. And so, we're just trying to raise up the numbers. But otherwise, I work several jobs, my guy. Like all of them are independent contractor work or work from home. So I do keep autonomy over my schedule, because that's a huge thing, is being an artist. That makes it really hard if you have a 9 to 5. But yeah, I have, work from home as a, what is it called? A billing specialist for a healthcare company. I am a basketball official. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a substitute teacher. I've done like, little gig works here or there. Obviously I do sell merchandise. And I have my books as well, that I want to say is probably the most money I've made off merch is off my books alone. Because it's kind of a niche thing or unique thing for a rapper to bring their literature to a show.
I can't wait till she puts the pants on sale, because she has, pants and style, and I see it. And the thing is, everybody wants it quicker. Everybody wants to be, in a position above. Even Warren Buffett would love to do more. Bill Gates would love to do more. So it's be content. Scriptures talk about that. Mm-hmm. What do you think, maybe holds you back? Because we are in an era of music where there's a lack of development, there's a lack of wisdom, and you can put anything out. Suno can put out Janae Monet right now and get a $3 million deal, allegedly. Like, what do you think is it might be holding you back? Because early 2000s, your style, people were like, hold on, we got Missy, we got Erykah Badu. This is a perfect blend right here. So, tell us, what do you need?
I would say a team. I got all of the things that I have done. That's what I said before. Like, I'm not signed to a label. I don't have a manager. I don't have an agent. Like, most of the work that you've seen has been from what I've been able to do and who I've been able to meet and try to partner with, and then lose money and then try again and then invest here and then try again and then invest here and then try again and put money here and then try again and lose this. And so it's been continuous trial and error and just trying to make myself be seen in the places that, I can. But I do think that the thing that has been missing is the person or persons that know where to place me, if that makes sense. Like someone who understands that I'm an artist that doesn't need artist development. I don't need a sound to be created. Maybe the sound needs to be marketed properly, but as per, creating the style or getting me writers or like, all the other things that typically go about putting together artists. I've done that for myself. Artists develop myself, from vocal trainers to dance to athletics to being in areas, like all of those things I work on in my own time. It's just a matter of it's hard for me to work on all those things, work on the music, do the business back end, as well as try to manage myself and get the bookings. And there's a lot of spaces where no one wants to speak to an artist. They want to speak to your representation. And so if I have, the look, I have the sound, I can speak eloquently, I believe. I have a lot of I have all of those branding markers. It's just a matter of finding who can market me or who can put me through the right rooms for me to connect to the fan base that is mine.
Are you a successful entrepreneur or one in training? You've got the vision, but do you have the right partner to build your brand, your team, and your future online and off? At cprfirm.com, we offer expert consulting, financial guidance, and life coaching because we believe in doing life with our clients. After all, what is it for a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Founded by Kellen Coleman, we help our clients not only succeed, but plan to retire rich. Your business deserves the best. Start building your legacy today at cprfirm.com.
Okay. Hey, what do you want? Do you want a deal or do you want to stay independent? Because this is a boo-boo game. And so the right room sometimes the most filthiest, dirtiest. Everybody loves you while you're making the money. And the day you fall off, you can find yourself back wherever they found you. Like, what do you want? What speaks out to you when you think about, your ideal career?
My ideal career is for sure being signed. I've never intended to be independent in my life. I do believe that there are definitely faults when it comes to deals, but it also is depending on the deal that you sign, who is advocating for you. I feel like, some people who have gotten caught up in the bad contracts is because they literally just didn't read their contract or they didn't hire somebody to help them with the contract. And so, I for sure I would want to be signed to, and whether that be like the independent label or with the distribution through a major, just as long as I have a team that is dedicated to me. So that's what I feel like also goes far, no matter what area you're signed in. Is like, do you have people that really want to see you shine and really want to see you go up? I don't mind niggas taking their 5 to 10 to 15%. I want to be a full-time artist. And I know that I also have a very high return on investment because of my skill set and the things that I do and all the different areas when it comes to brandings and sponsorships that I can go into that I've already been in years. But just a matter of those relationships and those negotiations being done by someone that's not me.
Well, what do you think has stopped finding that right team? And I'm going to speak as the team, because what we find is sometimes people can have a team, be making a lot of money, millions even, and they don't listen. And then, I've had team members. No, I'll tell you off air that story. But I've had people who, they want a team and they think the team should, only focus on them while they're putting $50 in their Texas home. I'm in South Florida now, so you got to go backtrack my career. But their Texas home and say, but you're working with too many people. I'm used to somebody just for me. What are you looking for in your team, and why haven't you found that person? Have you ever had management?
So over the years, I've had people who claimed they wanted to and maybe tried, or we did like a trial run. And what I found is that, one, people don't actually know what they're talking about. A lot of people just cap on their abilities and skill set. Two, they never worked as hard as me, because some of these people, especially like when you're younger and you're working with people around your age, is like they want to be there for the highlights, like the shows and, the photo shoots, but not the business. And I was like, one thing we're going to have straight, like, I'm still an Igbo woman. We're going to have a business straight before we do anything. So that's another thing. If you don't have your business straight, I'm not working with you. That's period. I don't care how talented you are. I would say I've definitely just been full on ghosted by people who wanted to work with me. And I don't know if that's just their own personal life issues, which I partly believe it is. And then from there, it's like, because I've been in the game and I've learned a lot too. When some people say they want to work with me, I can just, feel how green they are to it. And it's like, sometimes people being green isn't bad when they still have a skill set in some other area. Like a girl that I work with currently, she's in business marketing. So while she may not have experience in music, we can still work together in the sense of music still being a business, and then grow from there. And so what I would want from a team now, is, while I never really expect anybody to put me at the top of their priority list, unless we're doing some kind of 50-50 split, then yeah, I'm gonna better be each other's priorities. But I do expect to be a priority because, especially when it comes to you're making a certain percentage off of whatever things you're doing with me. It's like, I don't mind working hard. I don't mind working daily. Like, I'm not a lazy artist. I'm not the type of person who's going to have pushback because you're putting me place to place to place. This is what I want to do. And also, I've formulated my own life to be already living this life. It's just I'm putting up the funds to be doing these things. And so I would want people on my team that, one, like me as a person, two, like my music, want to see me be a superstar. I think that's like most fundamental things. Like, you actually fuck with me as a human being, care for me as a human being, and then want to see me shine and be a superstar. And then we have the other people. Like, I'm not a foreigner to, business minded people where it's like, I could give a fuck about you as a person, but how much money can we make? I'm okay with that because I want to make money as well. So as long as it's not, but as long as we have that person or peoples on the team that are, that human connection, and then the other people on the team can handle the actual financials and like the, how much can we get from certain things? Because, yeah, I want to make money. Like, I'm not going to sell my soul, but a nigga wants to make money.
Yeah. I mean, and you said sell your soul, and a lot of folks there is a reason why certain artists, you always see them, and some of them we're very proud of, even though they, make the wrong decisions. We're happy that they're not doing what they used to do. It's a very personal relationship. I've had clients tell me, I know why I'm single. Why? Because I'm in a relationship with you. How can I find a man? I said, we've never met. Right. But it is a personal relationship, especially the more money you make. And you don't love somebody when they don't have the hundreds of thousands or millions. Don't mess with them, y'all. Because if you don't love them, then once they get to that million, everybody goes through their, caterpillar to butterfly stage, and they'll start getting big on you. And this is the reason why you hear people getting ripped off. But I want to know, for the young lady who also has parents that are immigrants, because they could be Cameroonian, like my jersey. They could be Sierra Leonean. They could be Indian. Trying to play in two worlds where you're raised one way. I raised my kids the Cameroonian West African way. How do you, like, what advice would you give somebody? Because they're like, we're weird, we're odd. And say, yeah, we ain't doing Halloween. We ain't doing this. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing none of that. Like, don't ask to go to no friend's house. None of that. And I grew up with all of that, but we ain't doing that over here for various reasons. Maybe my own traumas and dramas. How would you say how to deal with that? Would you advise parents to loosen up and assimilate more? And how has it been for you as an artist as well? Because are you Nigerian enough for some,
Okay. So first part, I would definitely advocate to parents. I wouldn't call it assimilation just because you're allowing your child freedom. The reason typically is like you want to protect them. And I think that that a lot of immigrant parents can be overtly protective because, like, we came to this country so you could have the best possible future, period. We suffered and did this thing so you could have the best, and we don't want you to mess it up. And I think it's just trusting that the kid is not going to mess it up just because they're wearing a little bit shorter skirts or they're or they're going out for Halloween trick or treating, or they have a friend over, like, or they go to a friend's house. Like they're not gonna go get shot and murdered, God, forbid. But I think it's just a lot of fear that they instill into kids rather than just being like allowing them to be kids. And so, and also, if your kid shows some sort of artistic talent, you have absolutely no idea what that kid could possibly be to the world. And so, I would advise them not to shun them away because you want them to do a certain thing. Kids are kids. You don't know. They could be a painter by 10 and then decide to be a doctor once they hit the 16 versus you trying to shove doctor down their throat by the time they're 8 and they don't get a chance to explore anything else. And then by the time they're 35, they resent their life. And I've seen that happen a lot of times where people are forced into these careers by their parents and then they end up being sad. And like by the time they're in their 30s, 40s, like I want to do something else because I have all these other passions that I feel like I never got to do. And so that's why I also feel like with my own family, there are people who support me because one, not all of us got to be doctors. Not all of us have to be engineers. Like someone got to do something. Somebody has to do something else. And so I'm that one that chose to do something else. And I think that some of my cousins, I know that some of my cousins are proud of me in that regard that Ogechi chose to do life her way. And she's actually great at what she does. It's not like, a pipe dream that I want to be a superstar. I've been called a superstar since I was 17 before I started even making music because that energy or that light I was born with. And that came with a lot of strife in my life, but I accept it nowadays. And so I believe I kind of answered the second part of your question. The advice that I would give to the people who how to deal with it. Unfortunately, there is sometimes where low key you gotta suffer, and not terrible suffering. But I think one of the things I recognized in my life is that your parents raise you for a certain amount of time, and then from there, the world is your oyster. Unless you decide to stay with your parents for the rest of your life, you will have your own life outside of your childhood and adolescence. And so I feel like I gave bits and pieces of what I wanted to do while I was in high school, but I knew I couldn't go full force until I left for college in another state. And then there's when I started being more of myself. But even now, like if I'm at a family function with the adults and everything, I'm not wearing one leg pants and eclectic ass eyeliner and all those things, just out of respect for, the elders. But if I'm with my homies, my cousins, then I'm going to dress like me because no one cares. Me dressing like this or being eclectic and weird does not mean that I'm not a good person. And that does not mean that I'm not a smart person or intellectual. It just means that she is just a little bit different. Like, she just decides to express herself differently. And so I think this day and age, even in Nigeria itself, like a lot more adults are calmer on their children. Like you'll see a lot of people with locks in this day and age in Nigeria that 15 years ago you would have never seen because they would have been called hoodlums. But I feel like across the board, both on grounds and in America, that parents are realizing that, we have been super strict. That if they have tattoos on their arms, they will still get a job. And it's just us that have decided to break the mold and do it regardless. Because at the end of the day, they also just need to see it to believe it. So once they start seeing doctors with a neck tattoo or lawyers with an arm sleeve, then it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe they can still get it. Maybe you can, okay, I may not like your tattoo, but I'm not going to kick you out the house for getting one because they've seen that doesn't stop them from still progressing in life.
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt. Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter, grow faster. MillionaireX.ai gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit MillionaireX.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
Thank God for the progress. And what about the second part of, are you Nigerian enough? Because some say if you don't shoot your video in Africa, Africa's not going to like it. And you're like, well, what do you say about this artist and that artist? Oh, that's because they're signed to Warner, or they're signed to this and that. But even a lot of artists want to film in Africa, even if they live here. And it's almost like they have to pretend on the other side that, I can shoot over there, but I live here. I don't live that life that I showed you there, but I live here. I got a big house, but I barely see it. What do you think about that? Have you got any of that pushback from the African side?
Absolutely not. The first time I was in Nigeria, not the first time ever, but the first time that I was in Nigeria as an adult that could drive, I was with my little sister and we were there for 2 or 3 months, right? And as soon as they heard I was a rapper, they heard one song, they started putting me on stages left and right. They said, ha, this girl is spy. Like, we need to have her. And I promise you, I performed to a crowd of like 10 to 15,000 at a festival. like just off the strength of she's amazing, put her on. And from then on, Audio Mac, I want to say that I have maybe a couple thousand monthly listeners. That is 75 to 80% Nigerian Ghana off of no African music, just Ogechi. So
Okay.
I'll say absolutely not. Like, I think Nigerians love eclectic. I think the artsy people, they love eclectic people. I think people enjoy the fact that my stage name is my actual name, and I didn't like change it up to be, you know, to make it easier for people. Like, no, my Igbo identity is a part of who I am. And so, yeah, no, I think I haven't gotten any pushback. I know that I know that as I immerse myself further into the Lagos and the Abuja scenes and want to work with people out there and grow my base out there, I do have to spend time there. But I think that goes, honestly, when it comes to just being an artist. Like, if you want to really connect to Chicago artists, nigga, get your ass in Chicago. Don't say that don't be in Brooklyn and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all this stuff and be like Chicago, and not actually step on ground and talk to the people and immerse yourself in the city. So same thing goes for Nigeria. But yeah, I've never gotten any pushback that I'm not necessarily Nigerian enough. I think people know that obviously I'm a Nigerian American, but no one has shamed, because there also is a lot of, I think it's more so even the pride, because there's a lot of first generations that will never consider their home country the home country outside of America. They'll say my parents are Nigerian, my parents are Ghanaian, not I am. And that rhetoric is supremely harmful for our culture. And so for those of us that do go home, that have those citizenship, that enjoy going home, actually, and if I could go home more times, if it wasn't thousands of dollars, I'd be back in Nigeria way more often. There's a pride, too, in that, because we are helping preserve our culture for the next generation.
I push a lot of, people find out who you are, especially if you're, say, I'm born in America and you don't necessarily know your roots, or you can say, oh, I'm Jamaican. Now they drop you off in Jamaica. Where are you people really from, right? And so people always ask why, but because when you go to Africa, you'll love it. As long as you don't go as military or missionary, because you got a whole different thought process if you go as a missionary or military. But people always ask, so why, if you love it so much, why don't you stay there? And for you, if they booked you so quickly and the bookings work like that, why not stay? Because I know your family too probably has a home, if not a big home, maybe even bigger than what you have here, like us.
Well, in that moment, I was a sophomore in college, so there's absolutely no way in hell that I wasn't going to graduate college. Period. So that's it. I went literally during a summer break, and the only summer break I took during my college years. Otherwise, I was studying straight until I should have graduated. So I'm class of 2020, but because I never took a summer off except for that one summer I went to Nigeria, I graduated December 19, so I'd be able to start the year off and do whatever. And then we got the pandemic, and I just ruined everything. But yeah, and so but every time I've gone back since, I've kept the same relationships from when I had that first time in Abuja, and even just finally going to Lagos this past time. My sister had a friend that worked in fashion, and we just ended up meeting all these eclectic folk in entertainment and business and all those things. And so I think there's also a lot of just genuine people out there. I guess there's a flashy show guys and stuff like that, but I feel like when you have a certain energy, you attract that same energy. And so being able to, in that, we spent quite literally maybe 4 days in Lagos, and immediately, made these connection. And so I just feel like that in itself is a, divine alignment thing that this is one of those places. And so I'm very happy to go back this next time for, I think, a little over 2 weeks before I go back to the East. When I say the East, that's going to the village, where my family is from. It's kind of like when you go, I'll say it's like going back to the hood. Here. But yeah, that I'll say.
But it's all good though. It's all good. I want to say, because going back to the hood in America is a little different than you going to the village. I think you'll be much, much safer in the village because the hood be, in theory, because somebody might try to poison you in the village. So it depends on, what your last name is.
I would say it's probably more so, rather than, I would say hood just as a Black colloquial, but maybe it's more so going back to the farm, where you feel as a big ranch in the middle of nowhere. And so the only people that know people are the people who live in this area, and you gotta drive like a couple miles to even get to the ranch. But when you're there, it's a compound. So yeah, like that's what it is. And people always wonder also why Nigerians or even just people have these big houses in the village. Because one, it's cheaper to build. Two, when you buy land, you own the land. You do what you want with it, period. It's like, and no one will accost you. And so, and then also for the family itself, these houses are this large because they're meant to hold not just one family. When we get married, that's where the things will happen. When there's a burial, that's where things will happen. When there's, big celebrations, 60th, 70th, 80th, 90th party, everybody from all across the extended families are coming to this house. And so that's why they're built to be so big, so they can just accommodate for everybody. And then typically people retire there, and then, and then you keep this plot of land in the family.
And you never sell. That's an abomination. You never sell.
That's my
Unlike America, where somebody buys it today, they're trying to flip it tomorrow. And yeah, I could go somewhere with leave it. I ask everybody what their community give back is that they're doing or that they would like to do in the future. You mentioned in the beginning, you are already doing a community give back already by volunteering. But if you have anything else or you want to go deeper and also let the community know how they can help, because you might have found a good cause or doing something good that someone else can put their talents and skills together to help it, even go further.
I think, yes, I dibble and dabble in a lot of different places of just volunteering time or hands, or manual labor. I think one of the things I will for sure get back into that I did when I was a teenager to my early 20s, I was a teaching artist, and I would do everything from like boys and girls clubs, and also juvenile detention centers and women domestic shelters. And it was a very life-changing thing to do so young, but I recognize how they need people as well. And I feel like because like those kinds of, women abuse shelters and juvenile detention centers is like, it feels very prison-like. And so even in going in, I was supposed to also do prisons in that moment, but some things just didn't work. And so that's one of the things I would like to bring back into my life is being a teaching artist, wellness aid for those specific communities or those specific organizations. I know that, and then also just mental health help. I'm not sure exactly in this moment in what capacity, because I know there's a lot of different ways that you can help out people, but I do know at least that one thing I did before in the sense of teaching artistry for those organizations I would like to do. And then just, be an advocate for health and wellness, mental wellness, physical wellness, and, those things. So I have a lot of things I want to do, high key, but it's just like, I need to get I need to get the vehicle of music running, and then I'll be able to like spread my wings.
Gotcha. And you talk about the mental health and, even spreading the wings. I'm going to go there. How have you dealt with the industry? Because I don't care who's locked up, who's dead. The industry is still, what can you do for me game. And unfortunately, a lot of times when women, and you talk about being bigger as a kid, but now when you're fly and got it going on, how do you deal with that? Because everybody, you think you got your leg out and folks got their third leg out too, talking about, I can help you. I can get you to the next level. But what you going to do for me first? How have you dealt with that? Because again, we're not talking about that enough. And I've seen even grown men lead with artists coming out of BET Awards. Maybe I should not have said that. I've seen female journalists, teams of them turn into groupies coming out of other awards. I won't say the Stella Awards, but you guys, that's a Crispin show in case you don't know. It can go anywhere and go down. So how have you dealt with that?
I think in the beginning, you brush off. There was one, and I'm not going to name the event or anything, but it was one of those particular big events where one of the particular runners of that event did try me. And I was like, in that situation, I felt like it was I felt like it was like a coordinated attack between like a lot of people, the men in that room, because it was like I would be in this area, someone would try me there. I'd be in this area, this person would try me there. I'd be in this area, someone full on picked me up, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then leaving it, I wanted to leave alone. They wouldn't let me, and then the guy tried to kiss me, and then there was another guy that was like very near watching as well. So I was just like, after that specific experience, I definitely like had to break down for a moment because I was like, "Bro, what the fuck is this?" Like. Because I really feel like I knew I was the youngest girl in the room. But I was like, wow, like, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure I called one of my mentors at that moment, and former mentor, because he also ended up being a fucking predator and groomer, which is also crazy. And just cried because he also, so funny in that moment, he had nothing to say and very funny that 3-4 years later, he ended up, being similar in that kind of way. But I think because of those experiences, because it's not an unknown fact, as a woman in the industry and as a woman in just regular life. And so I think that nowadays it has not affected me as much, and that may be because of just how I physically walk in a room. It's like I don't feel like I now have that innocence or that like bright-eyed, oh my gosh, all those flashing lights, all the famous people. Like I don't have any of that. And so it's like your money, your fame, none of that faces me. You're a person. You could actually be a terrible person, nigga. So I don't actually care until we've actually made a genuine connection. And so I feel like I walk with that certain level of confidence in the room that does dissuade men who prey on young women away. And I think even just the way that I talk in general has been described as sometimes intimidating, commanding. I think, I'm not like, I would say, I would hope that people don't feel like I'm talking down to them, but at least when I speak to people, they understand like, okay, she's a powerful woman. And I think I stand in that as well. And that is typically something that men don't try to target. And so nowadays I haven't dealt with it as much. Do I still think it will happen in the future? Yes. And I think it's just finding your ways out of those situations and also just having your guard up and your intuition up to make sure that you stay safe. Because there's sometimes where you could be cornered and be blindsided, but it's just a matter of like, one, keeping guard. Two, I think I also walk around with mentality that I'll fight anybody. Like whether I'm walking on the street, like especially because I'm a solo traveler and I've lived in downtown Atlanta, so it's like I wish a nigga would is in my mind every second. Like, and I think that causes a reverberation in the world that like she's maybe not the one to try. And I also have fought like MMA, Muay Thai, boxing, so it's like if I must, you gonna die first. I'm gonna let you know that. So I think that actually, and I'm joking kind of halfway, I think also women should know how to defend themselves and fight. And that would
No, don't. You're not joking. They need to know jiu-jitsu. My daughters know jiu-jitsu because the only martial art where a bigger person can be in between your legs and you can violently get them off. Every woman, I mean, they should be taught in elementary, and you still might be too late for some people. But
it makes you feel more confident when walking around when you know that you are equipped internally.
Yeah.
Stop. No, unfortunately, like there's always going to be bad people in the world. That's why you need to do things in your own life to prepare and be ready.
Well, for all the parents listening, because I have a parent recently said, "Will you represent my child?" And I said, "Unless you can't find anybody else, I don't like doing children because this is a boo-boo game, and you become a babysitter more than anything. Yeah. Because I can't leave you, and I don't want the parent leaving, but I cannot leave you with anybody in this industry, and I got to have my own kids around just because of just safety reasons. Like you're dealing with people. People are going to be people, how they've always been, and I was telling people, my grandmother had her first child at 12 years old. Whether that was by choice or by force or by what, everybody's story is different. It could have went 100 ways. We don't know any negative stories like that, but it was a different time. So yeah, but people don't change their instincts. A wolf is going to be a wolf. and you got to know how to deal with a wolf.
Yeah.
What could we do for you as an artist, as an audience, to help, you with your movement? Is there somebody people need to be emailing that you had your eye on, whether it's a label, whether it's, a team? What can we do for you?
Definitely, I have a list of labels, all the way from, the independent to and higher type of folks, or even management companies, booking management companies, management agencies that represent artists. Um, it's in like a list on my thing, so I want to like just say all the interview. But I think as per regular consumer would be to outside of streaming the music to buy the music, because I'm fully self-funded. And I know I've sacrificed a lot of, these years of my youth to invest properly into my music, to make sure everything is high quality, to make sure when you see me and see my visuals on my music, there's no difference between me and a mainstream artist. And that's what people have assumed from me because of the quality of my work. That, oh yeah, she has a team or a manager. It's like, nah, nigga, this is Ogechi. I just know how to package it nicely. And so that's the main thing I'm looking for, is just that team, that representation, that people who can invest into an emerging artist, and even want to do that. I know that we live in a game where people say that there isn't any artist development, or there isn't any money industry. I kind of believe that's false. I think the money is there. It's not just being thrown out like it was when the TikTok era first came up. Now it's just a lot more strategy has to be in place. And then that I would say gut instinct when it comes to knowing who is a superstar and who is not, who is worth investing in and who isn't. That's what I would say, and I know there's so many different forms of having deals too. So even if it's not a record label deal, whether it's a distribution deal, whether it's a publishing deal or a songwriter's deal with, a Warner Chappell or a Sony, as a songwriter who has written in several different genres, as well as had, song placed in Netflix and is in the sync world. So yeah, I know there's a billion different ways to at least get your foot in the door as an artist. And so that's why I'm looking for the people, because I don't know what I don't know on the sense of music business and the proper ways to get an artist in. I've done what I can, but I know that there's people who their expertise lies in that, where they can just see my artist friends, see what I've done over the years, see what I'm currently doing, and okay, this is what we're about to do. And those are the people I'll work with.
Yeah, and the game has changed. I mean, there's a book that I actually copied the cover when I wrote my book on the Christian industry, because I was so sick and tired of the world and going through the hardest time in my life dealing with, real issues. But there's a book, and it was written by two entertainment attorneys. I look at that book now and I say, yeah, some of this information is still good to tell artists, but some of it has changed, and these guys are not in the game like they used to. Also, how you used to pay DJs legally, in quotes, or how you used to pay magazines and look out for people, artists that are filthy rich. Shout out to Oakland. Sometimes those artists aren't able to push back to magazines that have helped them put on. So the magazines are like, look, we have the connection with the labels. We have the connection with the booking agents, but the artists aren't also giving back, thinking we're done. And, they didn't help me and I helped myself. So many things have changed. And this internet is where a lot of the labels now want to see, because the internet, the labels act like me and I act like the labels. When the party is started, it's like we got something to manage. And we got to manage it ourselves. Now we got to put somebody damn near in debt because we have to pay for X, Y, and the Z. None of it is free. So that's why artists, when they take a deal, they get into a high loan, a lot of times. And they're like, oh, I didn't know. And it's like, well, who was your manager? Or I signed it by myself. Who was your attorney? Oh, I didn't have one. Or I had Jacoby Myers or my uncle. Your uncle does DUIs. He doesn't do entertainment. It's better to holler at Charlie Braxton out there in Mississippi. We're
Just 500 for something that will affect possibly your whole life. And so, and I definitely get you. And I think that's one of the things that I've also worked on. So when I tell people when I tell people I don't have a team, it's more so on the music business side. As per recording, engineer, studio that I go to, producers, videographer, photographer. I am a visual editor myself. I went to school for film. And so all that creative stuff, especially if you just look at my content or look at my videos, you understand that that is something I've done on my own, self-funded. So that's not something that I need necessarily assistance on. And that's one of the crazy parts when I've had like people tell me, oh, how they work with artists. It's typically always, oh, we do music videos, we do photo shoots, we can help you with your shows. I need help with not narrowing nothing on the creative side. What do you do business wise? And that's where people are like, yeah. And so that's where the team and yeah, like I have a couple very funny all African women lawyers that I know that do entertainment for when those deals do come up if I am still alone when they come up. Otherwise, that's that aspect of manager, agent, the all the different, and I know that like also one person can have multiple jobs, or they can just be a person that introduces you to somebody, and then you find your way through a pipeline or whatever. And so I don't know what God has in store for me. I do feel like in this season I am a lot closer than I have been before. And I have a pretty decent system that is ever changing and never balancing. But I do feel like I have hit a good stride, and even in just the amount of people that know me and support me in Atlanta, and in New York, I just spent a week out there, and it's crazy how much love I get in New York every time I go there. Brooklyn has always been one of the top listening cities of my music, and then Nigeria, and so trying to connect to those spaces that already love my music regardless. And again, just hopefully, and not even hopefully, but continue to work towards aligning to folks who want to do it. Because again, I've had conversation upon conversation with people for the last 6 years. Who stays actually? I don't know, because when you are working with an artist, it's not for a month, it's not for 2 months, unless you're doing a PR campaign or like whatever. If you're really trying to invest in my career, hello, we're supposed to be like not lifelong partners, but at least like there's a longevity in it. And I intend on being an artist that has longevity, not just a here today and gone tomorrow, not a TikTok viral pop and then you don't know who I am next year. Like, no, I'm in there for the long run, for the decades long career.
Lifetime. It's going to be a lifetime. You can do this for a lifetime if you so choose. I want you to let the people know on your website, are there any events before you head off to Nigeria and the world? Asia's looking for you. K-pop is out there and looking for its first Afro.
I like it's so funny because it's with my name and how I look like an anime character. Like I'm telling you, people. I really want to go to Asia just to see, man. And I like K-pop music.
Okay, you put it out there. When you go to Korea for the first time and you hear like where the vendors are, and you think you could be in New York or you could be in Abuja or you could be anywhere, and you hear the music and you're like, this is Black music wrapped in their language. I can dig it. Everybody is friendly. I'm here, and I'm not military or ministry. At least they're not that way. We holding arms and got scriptures for you, but we're not hitting you over the head with something you don't want. Yeah, I think you'll dig it because you're a knobbar, and I'm gonna tell her to her face, y'all. You are totally not in the box. So yeah, you're a problem. And if people cannot sometimes break a horse, they don't want to ride the horse. They don't want to try to get on. So South by Southwest, like that's you all day. That needs to be your home. You need to be in South by Southwest, the store. If you haven't been to Austin where they keep things weird, have you been yet?
Actually have not.
Yeah, I think I might have told you that when we were talking, but you need to be there. Like you'll feel the energy, and not just for the artist side, but also the tech side, because the tech is where the money is. Nobody has the amounts of money that tech does with AI, and this is my issue right now with African conferences when we're not talking enough about AI with experts who not tell you just what they did, like millionairex.ai, see the pre-commercial, but also showing you how you can do it. And you can do it without a lot of money. And you guys, you hit me on the DM or in the comments. We'll give you all the links we give everybody because they're free and they're on my blog too for cprfirm.com. Like, we're showing you what we're using to automate AI, like fully. You could automate yourself. Your AI could make music and then publish it. And you're like, oh, I woke up to a new song of my voice and even my body. So yeah, but South by Southwest, you need to be there. Where could they maybe catch you, or how do they book you? Let them know. And then I want to talk to you off air a little bit.
Cool. Well, one, if you're a social media head on Instagram and TikTok, I am CEO_OG. My website is Ogechi, OGECHI.me, where you can buy merch, and that's for my books to t-shirts and etc. My next show is November 16th in Decatur, Georgia. That is my EP release show. And always at my shows, I do music that has never seen the light of day because I like keeping things special for people who actually come in real person. And I'll have my choreographer there. So very happy to put on a full show, rapping, singing, dancing, how I like to do. Yeah, I think that is all. Oh, yeah. If you want to book me, booking information is also on my website, ogechi.me, or, DM. All the information is up there.
You guys have got the game. I'm going to try to see if she wants to be a content creator at the African Diaspora News Channel. I'm going to try, you guys, just because it can help. But you guys, thank you for listening to the end. I know most of you are listeners. Thank you, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. But please go over to the YouTube. Try to give us some more love over there. Like the game, you can comment. But most importantly, I need you to share it with somebody. It will change their life. We're all in this together. Be blessed.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stretch the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.